bass in your face.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. I apologize for the late start. Kind of overslept a little bit, but here we are. So, in any case, for the benefit of those of you who are not familiar with the channel or are watching this channel for the first time, the reason why it is called Uncommon Sense is that here we talk about everyday issues where we try to find logical solutions, but not everyone uses logic. So for that reason, it is called Uncommon Sense. I also have a much smaller YouTube channel called Latina Diaspora, where I talk about issues regarding Latinos in the United States. The link to the channel is in the description. I want to let everybody know that I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to all those who've already subscribed to the channel. Whether you've been a subscriber from the very beginning or just recently joined, I really appreciate your love and continued support. I also want to give a huge shout out to all those who follow me on social media, as well as those who allow me to enter into your devices, and those who watch me in the clouds, even the haters. So, what I'm going to ask you to do, if you have not done so, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, like, and set the bell notifications all. So, therefore, whenever I do produce content, you have the opportunity to catch it live or catch it on playback. So, tonight we're going to have another episode of Open Discussion where I will share my views regarding several topics. Of course, you will have an opportunity to opine as well. Also, if there's any topic that you want me to discuss, I will do my best and comply. Anything that I don't have a great deal of knowledge, I will be transparent and state so. I also want to let everybody know that the link to join the panel has been pinned. Should anyone at any time wishes to hit the link and discuss anything regarding the topic at hand, then it do so. Now, however, you know what? You definitely will be because I'm gonna be going out tomorrow night. Um, Now, if I never seen you before, if I never heard from you before, I will insist that you come up in the backstage to make sure that no one doesn't flash anything inappropriate, which will cause the people of YouTube to take down the stream. So, without further ado, the first thing I'm going to be discussing is next week's schedule. Now, it's going to go back to its usual Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night episodes. It's going to be done a little bit later. Okay. Monday and Wednesday streams, I think it's going to be on 10:30 Eastern Standard Time, which means Georgia, it'll be 7:30 your time. And now open discussion will go back to Friday night. It'll be at 8 o'clock your time, which is 11 o'clock my time. In all fairness, it's something new that I'm planning to do. But you do have to experiment as far as the timing is concerned and see whether or not it creates an audience. Um, Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is Trump's expensive birthday celebration. Now, this Saturday, which is June the 14th, happens to be Flag Day. is also Donald Trump's birthday. He will be 79 years old. Now, when he ran for office last year, and of course he was elected, it was with the promise that he was going to cut waste and avoid unnecessary expenditures. Well, he's okay. He's planning a big birthday celebration, faintly no, faintly covered, wrapped around Flag Day. So what he's preparing is his grand military parade. So Donald Trump's ego can be stroked. Okay, and it's going to cost at least 45 to $50 million. Okay, so basically he wants a parade something like the leader of North Korea or or Putin over in Russia. Okay, so people can they can have this big fancy parade, and then he can have this ego stroke. I'm watching. So could you imagine tanks rolling down the streets of Washington just to satisfy his ego? Uh, I don't know about you, but I have a huge problem. First of all, I don't know if the streets of Washington D.C. Um, if they can support um, tanks rolling up and down the streets without creating any damage to the roads and things of that in the streets and what have you, and all to celebrate um, Donald Trump's ego-driven birthday celebration. Um, I'm glad to see that he's loved himself, but really, uh, I just have a huge problem with that. Maybe you think this is a good idea. I don't know. Let me ask. I'm going to pose a question, okay, and I'm going to actually put a one or two in the chat. Um, if you think it's okay for President Trump to have this big, huge, expensive military parade to celebrate his birthday, put a one in the chat. If you think that for Donald Trump to be spending close to 50 million or more, so he can have this military parade to have his ego stroke, and you think that's being wasteful spending, put a number two in the chat. Okay, so put a one in the chat if you think it's okay to spend taxpayer money for a parade to stroke his ego for his birthday. Two, if you think it's a big waste of money. Okay, but in any case, uh, the next topic is going to be who is trolling. Now, let me explain to you what the genesis behind the question. I see there's a different point. Here's a different point. Any person can celebrate his birthday, but the way they want. But I go for two. Yeah. I mean, look, I have nothing wrong. I have no problem that Trump celebrating the anniversary of his birth. Okay. I have an issue when you're talking about $50 million or so just so he can have his ego stroke, but that's neither here nor there. Now, let me explain to you what is the meaning behind the question. Now, in one of Miss Elite's lives that I participated, the topic had to do with character on TikTok called Cooking with Kaya. Now, for those of you who are not familiar about who is this, she is this young young lady. I think she's 23, who does cooking, and then while she's cooking, she's twerking, and then she's talking about talking about while she's thinking cooking with Kaya, cooking with Kaya, cooking with Kaya, and then talking about well I can steal your man, which is like really really. So basically, you have the ability um, to take a man that's going to be unfaithful with the lady to be with you. Um, I don't know about that. So it went into like into general gender roles, and then there was this one individual in the panel talking about that he wants to be a stay-at-home husband and do the household chores, and then the wife should go out there and work, and the wife should support him. Now, in all fairness, okay, I understand that there are different lifestyles today. Now, as far as that type of dynamic, that's going to have to be discussed with his wife. If his wife is okay with that, fine. But I don't think there are too many women um, are willing to engage in that type of a lifestyle. And part of the problem is this is what it is. Cooking with Kaya was apparently the fantasy of several men, mainly black men, because she cooked and whatever, and she's cute, and then she's twerking, and that she was supporting her man. Okay, I don't know if that was true or not true. I don't know, but in any case, there was one person that felt that women were not in favor of true equality. And then talking about, well, you should be able to stay home. Okay, you know what? Look, this is the thing. Um, now, look, she's 23 years old, so of course, like, I mean, basically, I'm almost 40 years her senior. Good evening, Don Mondo. Thank you very much for stopping by. So tonight we're having another episode of open discussion. So as the stream continue, to be perfectly honest, I got the impression that the dude was trolling, and he was he was being rude, interrupted not only me but other members of the panel, but it didn't get too bad until towards the end of the stream, where fortunately I was out of the picture, and next thing you know it, this person got into an argument with another member of the panel because his behavior was, to put it mildly, off-putting. And then he was talking about gender equality. So basically, I had to go into Google to define what it is because unfortunately, we're living in a day and age where people use different terminology without knowing the true meaning behind it. Okay. And what I said was, If you have two individuals, a man and a woman, both of them are equally qualified, both of them equally trained. Okay. Now the example I used was as an accountant. So if you have a man who is an accountant, you have a woman who is an accountant. They both have the equal training. They both have the equal experience. Therefore, they should both be given equal pay. Okay. So during the course of the stream, I just basically watched this dude going on, and to be perfectly honest, he sounded like it was trolling. I didn't say that because, um, first of all, this is the first time I've been interacted with this person, and who knows? I mean, he could be nuttier than a fruitcake, and you know, yeah. So I mean, so basically, I just let him. You know the saying: you give a person enough rope, they'll hang themselves. So basically, that's what I allowed to do the good. Okay. So we went from cooking with Kaya uh, to him sound like he's trolling about gender roles. But be it as it may. Now the next thing I'm going to be talking about is one that has to do with what to do on Father's Day. Now this is more geared uh, towards those individuals who their fathers have passed away, or those individuals that do not enjoy a healthy relationship with their fathers. Now, for both groups of people, Father's Day can be a very bitter day, bittersweet day, and things of that nature. You know what? I don't know. There might be another father watching in the clouds. I don't know. But this is the thing. When you're going through Father's Day or Mother's Day and your parent is not alive, that could be a very bittersweet and difficult situation because you are reminded of the fact that your father is no longer here um, in the flesh. Okay, I have gone through this several years. Yes, I also honored my father when he was alive. Okay, now the way I deal with Father's Day is to remember the life lessons that my father taught me. I also remember the good memories that I have with my father. So at least that way, when Father's Day do come, it could be sad, but at the same time, knowing that I have found memories of my father. In fact, let me uh, see if I, just give me a moment. No, that's not one. Okay, so this is my father. His name was Gumbasingh Negron. He lived to be 83 years old. And of course, my father was not perfect. He had made his mistakes. And nevertheless, I honor my father. Okay. Now, for those of you um, whose fathers are alive, but you do not enjoy a healthy relationship for whatever reason. One of the things I have said before, and I will continue to say, that if you can, try your best to reconcile with your father. Now, it does not mean to take your father's garbage. What it does mean is like, okay, what it means is that, okay, you recognize that your father is not perfect. You recognize your father may have issues. You recognize that your father may not be able to take accountability for his actions. Okay. It does not mean that you cannot have a conversation. Okay. Hopefully, at some point, your father is at this stage, at least like when he's just begun getting close to it, take accountability for his actions. Okay. And then you try to be reconciled if you can. If you cannot, at least you tried. Okay. And then if your father should pass away, at least you can say in your heart of hearts that you tried. Because the worst thing that could happen to you is you have a dispute with a loved one, and that person dies before you had the opportunity uh, to be reconciled. And then you have to go through the rest of your life um, knowing that you didn't take advantage of the opportunities out there uh, for for you to be reconciled with your father. Okay. And and I know some of you is going to say, "Well, you don't know my father. You don't know what type of person he is." No, I don't. I don't. I'm not going to claim to do, but it is better to try to be reconciled with your parent than not to. That's all I'm going to say. Now, the next topic I'm going to be talking about is the Colorado Rockies. Now, we all remember last year's Chicago White Sox. Okay, they had a very poor year. Okay, um, their record was 141 and 121. So they set the modern baseball record for most losses and a 162 game season. And we thought no team would ever come close to beating the record. Well, it looks like the Colorado Rockies have decided, you know what? We're gonna try to do as worse a job at playing baseball than the Chicago White Sox. Okay. So just to give you where they are, currently their record is, this is no joke, 13 wins and 55 losses. Okay. With a winning percentage of 191. To put it into simple mathematic terms, for every one game that the team wins, they lose five. Okay. So, and they are at a pace to lose roughly 130 ball games. So we thought that when the Chicago White Sox finished 41 and 121, that No one can come close to topping that record. Looks like the Colorado Rockies are out there on a mission to be an even worse baseball team. Okay, so just to give you some interesting data, um, in the first 40 games of their new season, the record of the Colorado Rockies was 7-33 with a winning percentage of 175. Now, at the first 50 games, their record is 8-42. I kid thee not. They have in the first 50 games, they have won 8 games and lost 42 with a winning percentage of 160, which is making it the first 50 game start in modern baseball era since 1901. Now, there is on May 31st, following a defeat to the New York Mets, the Rockies established a new MLB record for the lowest number of wins at the start of May, totaling 9. Yes, folks, 9. And the first team in history to open the season with 19 straight series losses. So, so if you think the 2024 Chicago White Sox was inept, it looks like the Colorado Rockies decided, you know what, we're gonna play even worse. Okay. Now, if there are any Colorado Rocky fans watching in the live or watching this on the playback, you have my deepest sympathies. Okay. But for a team to go, let me just take a look at the record again. For a team to go 13-55 after 68 games, that's sad. That is pathetic. Okay. That's even worse than the 1962 Mets, who finished their season at a record of 40-120. But at least in 1962, uh, they had an excuse. But that's neither here nor there. Now, the next topic is going to be welcome back. Now, lately, the Radical Latino has aired some videos regarding different topics, among them regarding the situation that's happening in Los Angeles with the riots and things of that nature. And I think you, Georgia, did a short video on it, and it's just that the amount of lawlessness happening in Los Angeles, it's scary. Now, in all fairness, I don't know too much about it, so I'm not going to comment any further. But it's never a good thing where people have to be worrying about their safety because there's too many people rioting. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about, of course, is cooking with Kaya. Cooking with Kaya. Now, I've seen her videos. I've seen her cook, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. A lot of times when I see her videos at TikTok, I just basically skip her and just go on to the next video. I mean, look, I get it. She's young, she's cute, she cooks, and then she does that twerking whatever with her butt or whatever. That's fine, okay. And then with her cute little, well, I can steal your man. I can steal your man. It's like that is not a. Okay, let me just drop the link again and see. Okay, Georgia, I just dropped the link again. Hopefully, you'll be able to hop on. But look, this is the thing. When you, I don't like to use the word pandering, but when you select men as your audience, what? Let me try again. Okay, try. Okay, try the last. Try hitting the link now and see that if you can hop on. Um, but going back to my topic, when you are trying to, okay, let me try. Let's see that. Okay, so what I did was I went into this my server, copy and paste it. Let's see if you're able to hop on. But but look, when you are basically trying to appeal to the, uh, you know, to twerking and doing a little dance, and then talking about, well, I can see your man. Um, that is not necessarily a good thing. Okay. Okay. First of all, and I'm gonna explain why. Okay. I see refining groups. Let me just state for the record that the views of those who appear in the panel are not necessarily those of the host in the channel. Any attempt to copy the material without the consent of the host is prohibited. By appearing on the call, you waive your right to the images. Some of the views people hold may be considered offensive to some viewers. If you do not like the content, you can block the channel. Good evening, George Art. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, a lot better now that the technical inconvenience is out of the way.
Yes.
And yeah, what prompted me to come up was what you said in regards to the 25-second short video that I made regarding the whole chaotic situation in LA.
Yes.
All you can do is just put your prayers into Los Angeles, because instead of looking at it through a fleshly lens, you got to look at it through like a spiritual lens, because it's just a principality that's over LA. And clearly, since people are just so worked up about like what's going on in the crazy social climate, it's definitely giving, the enemy legal rights to go in there and torment people, though,
Mm-hmm.
because like when it comes to people who are stirring up the civil unrest, it's wrath. It's a lot of people who have a lot of hurt and a lot of anger and a lot of unforgiveness going on in their hearts. And we already know what happens. Like when that stuff happens, what happens?
Yes.
Exactly.
That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I try
So
not to.
so I pray for people, who are just in that state, though. But this is what I would say, just to play it from the spiritual lens. So for, let's just say, for people who may have been here for like so long, like America is the only place that they know, we should work on
Mhm.
paving way for citizenship when it comes to that. But at the same time, we do have to strive for righteousness, and we still have to uphold federal laws. And this does
Yes.
not mean having full blown open borders, though, because in the Bible, yes, it also does talk about being friendly to foreigners, but at the same time, it also does talk about how the Lord drew lines, demarcated lines, and determined bounds of our habitations, by the way, which is what you can find in Acts 17, verse 26, by the way. So you need to learn how to have, well, not saying you, Jose, but we need to learn how to have a more of a balanced approach to such a complicated issue. Because it's complicated and nuanced if you really see it like that. So that's what I
Yeah.
can just say about LA, though. But for people who are going around like cheering it on and or saying stuff like how LA should burn, absolutely not. It's unacceptable. But then at the
You know
same
what?
time, but that's all I can say about it. But what's up?
Yeah, I agree with you. I wish that our friend Denise was here to voice her input, being that she lives in LA. But
Mhm.
of course, we know, I mean, I'm sure she'll probably watch us in the, in the playback, and then maybe she might express her opinion on the subject.
Right.
That's
And I
why
will say,
I.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
for sure. I will say that I know I do not condone illegal immigration, though. But at the same time, if we really want to get more pragmatic about things, though, if this is the only place that you have ever known, let's start by paving a pathway to citizenship for you. I
Now
think that's
I
about as
have.
reasonable as I
Yeah.
can get. But at the same time, we still have to uphold righteousness.
Yes. Now I have addressed this topic on one of Denise's lives, and this is the thing, and this is the issue that I have. You have people who enter this country illegally,
Mhm.
okay, and they've been living in this country for multiple years. Now I understand not every city have resources to help those people to legalize their status. Good evening, Gigi. Thank you much for stopping by. But the fact that you allowed several years to go by without any attempt to try to legalize your status,
If whatever country that you are going to immigrate in and establish yourself in for quite some time, you should take some good time into learning about the culture that you're in, along with the dominant language of that culture. Because also, if you do go to
mhm,
Switzerland, they don't have things like birthright citizenship. And if you do plan to apply for citizenship in Switzerland, you have to learn their language and their culture. That's top priority to the Swiss government, by the way. And I would be
yeah,
perfectly fine if similar measures were implemented here in the country, though. And I think that
yes,
is about as reasonable as I can actually get about that. Because
yes,
you can't be so far left about it, but you can't be so far right about the issue either. You have to be
mhm.
more biblical about it, though,
Now, in my lifetime, I have visited Canada, Mexico, Panama, Colombia, and the Dominican Republic. What I've done prior to me visiting those countries is try to um, learn as much about the culture as much as possible. So therefore, when I went over there, I didn't stick out as much. And I also have to understand that things and norms are different over there. So I try to keep myself informed regarding the norms and the culture.
Exactly. And yeah, and then like, and by the way, though, like even when it came to one of some of my students, by the way, they actually were bilingual learners, or they were multilingual learners. Like I was tutoring this one girl by the name of Maria, and she is actually originally from, I think, the Guadalajara area of Mexico. And then,
Yes.
and even there are times where I would translate certain words for her, though, that she wasn't familiar with in English, though. But then I would always tell her that, hey, Maria, puedes leer muy bien y estoy orgulloso de ti, you know?
Mhm.
Or then, like,
Yeah.
whenever she was not familiar with how to say, like, fork in English, I would say, uh, the fork en el español es el tenedor. También el cuchillo y la cuchara. So,
Hmm.
and then that's the knife I said. And then, as you already know, fork, I mean, spoon. And then I said, you have your, yeah, tienes tu mochila? Do you have your backpack? So it was a good job, though. But she is
Yeah.
now out for the summer and enjoying herself.
Hmm.
So there you go. But
Cool.
clearly, when it comes to somebody like her, she deserves a pathway to citizenship, though, because even as a third grader that she is clearly learning English along with the culture. So
Yeah.
therefore, she is fine and does not deserve to be a target of anything.
Yeah. And you know, and I do have sympathy for anyone that 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 came to the United States as a child at a small age by their parents. Okay, there should be something that should be done for these people. But if you are an adult and you enter the country illegally and you've been in the country illegally for several years and you don't even make an effort to try to legalize your status, I have a huge problem. Now, I grant that not in every community there's not a lot of resources to help individuals legalize their status, but in places like New York, Los Angeles,
Yeah.
definitely places of Texas, and I suspect some places in Nevada, there
Yeah.
are resources available to help those individuals who enter the country illegally but yet legalize their status.
Yeah. And also, like, man, like, si has vivido en este país por un tiempo, deberías aprender el inglés.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Even
Es
yes,
justo?
even though we don't have an official language, which is English. English is the unofficial language. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, when you go to another country to live, you should make an effort to learn the language, even if you mispronounce words, even if it sounds a little bit off-putting. At least try.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. I mean, like, or even, I mean, the same case even for me.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing that's unfortunate is that there have been cases where even U.S. citizens has been sent to other countries because it's mistaken because they have a Spanish surname or a foreign surname that automatically assume that they're undocumented, which is not true.
Mhm. Right.
Um, which is unfortunate.
True. I would, however, say this though. In the U.S., We should prioritize our own citizens. So I am totally fine with extending things like public assistance programs to those who are truly in need. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. There was a certain time where even my mother needed it way, way back in the day. We're talking about like the 1980s here, by the way. She needed that, but she eventually got back onto her feet to where she no longer needed that, though. But we have to prioritize those such as my mother from that time, and not those who are honestly illegal. And no, I'm not saying undocumented. I am actually saying illegal. I'm sorry.
Okay, wow.
Well, people can see how fair and reasonable I am on this issue, though, and how I'm looking at everything from a spiritual lens. That's about as fair and reasonable as I'm going to get. It's neither far left nor far right, because I don't even like either of the two, because both of them get way too caught up in their flesh.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah. And you see, that was the problem that I had with dealing with the migrants, where we went out of our way to assist them as far as getting social services and things of that nature. And we didn't give the same attention to our own citizens who are in need. I mean, it's kind of like you're taking away the food from your kids to feed another neighbor's kids. That's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Keep going.
Yeah. So now, are you aware of the whole scenario, the whole controversy regarding cooking with Kaya?
Absolutely not, Jose. I know nothing of. I've heard of her, but I just don't really feel like I know her that well enough to like really form an opinion about her. I just could care less about that whole situation, though, because dude, I've been out there on the streets, as you've been seeing in my videos.
Oh yes.
I would rather prioritize that than this boring stuff about Kaya. No offense.
I know, and her going around talking about cooking with Kaya, cooking with Kaya.
Cringe. Yeah, I did see like a quick video of her, like a snippet of it on TikTok. I immediately scrolled. Because what fruits is that producing? Yeah. And Jose, I mean, no disrespect to you, brother, though, but I think it's like the most boring thing that people could talk about. In a funny way.
You know what? The reason why I've been talking about it because she received a lot of backlash from the men regarding her antics.
I give her credit though, yeah, for the food though. I did see like a snippet of her food though, but yeah, I can't do it.
I mean, let me tell you something. When you go around and you're trying to look cute, okay, and I'm gonna say the word trying, and then you twerking whatever, and then the ad insult the insert talk about, well, I can steal your man, I can steal your man, which is like, lady, that's not a flex, okay? That you can get some fickle dude not realizing that he can do the same thing to you.
True.
But seriously, every time I see it, I mean, the first time it looked a little cute, but after a while, it's kind of like next.
I'm the same way, man. That's exactly how I feel.
I mean, let me tell you something. Seriously, there is some great content on TikTok. I mean, a lot of it Christian, like Christian music, particularly in the Spanish version of the music. I mean, there's a lot of great videos with praise and worship in Spanish. That's fine, but looking at her, cooking with Kaya, cooking with Kaya, cooking with Kaya, and her bouncing around with her little butt up in the air. No, no, thank you.
Well, no wonder why I lost interest right away. Immediately.
Yeah, I think it's safe to assume that you're not going to be twerking around saying twerking with Georgia, twerking with Georgia.
Oh, please. Oh my God. Oh, oops. I mean, let me take that back. I mean, oh my goodness gracious. So absolutely not. I would be embarrassed if she ever just made a video like that using my name, to be honest.
Oh, could you imagine you yourself twerking?
Oh my God.
I mean,
Wow. I would
the ops.
be
I mean,
embarrassed,
I mean,
man. Like if somebody were to try to attach my name to that. No, I'm like, no, 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 no. Kaya, please remove my name from that video.
could you imagine if you decided to twerk what the ops would say?
Well, well, I'm pretty sure somebody would get off to that though, especially given the fact that this is his month, right? But I'm not interested, and I can't wait for the day until, I'm happily married with a woman the right way, the correct way, okay?
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure
Would you,
somebody would be getting off at it.
yeah. Would you care to respond to this comment? It worked
It worked
though,
though,
and she blew up.
it worked though, and she blew up. Well, I guess if she's gonna give me free press like that, even though there would be aspects of it that wouldn't really make me comfortable, fine. But I hope that people would know what they're getting themselves into if they're going to be following me.
Oh,
Okay.
could you imagine? Or could you imagine me twerking with Jose, twerking with Jose?
Well, oh my God. What if she blew you up then and started saying that then?
You know, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know how to respond.
And what would happen though, like if that caused like your subscription count to increase? That all of a sudden you're now getting thousands of followers now, Jose. How are you
You
gonna
know what's
feel?
gonna, you know what's gonna be the new accusation that I'm gay. And no. I mean, as much as look,
I think you already have had that allegation before.
oh
Based
yeah,
on the fact that I was compared to Jeffrey Dahmer, okay? Remember that.
I know.
So you technically speaking, the allegation has already been made about you.
And what, 20 more other things as well? What else is new?
Mm-hmm. But that would be funny. I don't know why. If Kaya were to ever shout you out like that.
I there's not many things that are a certain thing. Death, taxes, there's a heaven to gain and there's a how to avoid. But working with Kaya twerking for me? No. No. And frankly, I don't think my lady would appreciate it too much.
Exactly, man.
Because I don't know if you know anything about Dominican women. They tend to be very jealous, okay?
Very
About the only
possessive,
one,
yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
About the only women that tend to be more insecure and jealous, like are Filipino women.
True.
Okay.
I honestly don't really have much jealousy issues, if you want to be honest, though, because whoever my kingdom spouse is, if she is really truly just walking the walk and not talking the talk, then there's not really much of a reason for me to feel jealous. Because at the end of the day, she'll prioritize her relationship with the Lord over anyone else, including me, which I would be totally fine with. In fact, that's how it should be. And then she respects me, submits to me. Then there's nothing for us to be jealous about.
Okay.
You know?
Yes.
I mean, if anything, she'll be out there on the streets with me doing what I'm doing.
So,
That'll be
but you know what's gonna be the latest thing. Oh, now Georgia is coerced another woman to go out there to harass sex workers.
That'll probably be the new narrative when that happens still. Absolutely, though. And not only that, though, for the record, I also wanted to say this, though. I'm now reaching many people out there on the gritty streets of Las Vegas. Yes, the sex workers, the hookers, or the quote unquote thoughts that people like to use nowadays, but it also has extended to just ordinary homeless people, disabled people who are also homeless, and our senior citizens too. All of them above.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this, you guys can, if people really want to go that far, you can catch me right outside of the Catholic Charities, just right outside of North Las Vegas, okay? It can get very gritty over there, and you'll find a lot of people over there who are just surviving, you know? So if you guys want to see me, find me over there, okay? You can't help but see me.
Yes. Good evening, George. Irby. Thank you very much for stopping by. So we're having another episode of Open Discussion. We just finished talking about cooking with Kanya, cooking with Kanya, cooking with. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Oh, I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I actually gave a homeless woman a ride yesterday. So what are people going to say about that? She
Okay.
asked.
No, you know what's going to be?
She
Okay.
asked.
Okay, you know what's going to be? Now you're using your horse to try to get sexual favors.
My horse? Cooper? The one here in the picture with me?
Yes.
Well, Cooper is a sweetheart, though, yes. But I'm using my horse for that? No. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, but now let's move on with cooking with Kaya. Now, you're not going to believe this, but would you believe I have gone through a lot of controversy to request 2 weeks vacation time?
Interesting.
Okay.
In your job?
Yeah. Let me explain what it is. Okay. Now I'm not going to talk about the nature of the job, but I can say this. When you work as a municipal employee, okay, and there's a thing that's called seniority. Basically, what that means is like if you have two people at the same title and one has been working at the same title more longer than you have, that person has seniority.
True.
So we both requested the same time. Now, the problem was I had a discussion with my supervisor months ago where I stated that I needed 2 weeks vacation time. Now, it's very rare that I take 2 weeks. Usually I just take a week and that's about it. But
does it count towards, is that like your PTO time?
I'm not too sure what that's the name PTO, but
PTO. Paid time off?
Okay. Yes.
PTO, yeah.
Yeah. So just to give you an idea, I get 27 days of paid vacation time a year. which is almost 5.5 weeks. So we both requested the same time. Okay. Now apparently she made an accusation that that there was favoritism involved because of me, and this person decided to escalate things and go to a union rep to complain about this, which led me to the unenviable position which I have to advocate for myself. So Whitman approaching the organizer, which is a union rep, and I state my case and things of that nature. And I had a discussion with my site manager about it. So I'm happy to report my 2-week vacation has been approved. And for the first time in over 25 years, I have to advocate for myself to get 2 weeks vacation time.
Had to go through all that pressure and drama, though, just for 14 days. Wow.
Yeah. But that just gives you an idea.
Like, I honestly never took advantage of my PTO because I just didn't feel a need to.
Okay. Well, it's just that you see in my situation, if you have a lot of paid time in the books when it's time for you to retire, you're going to be what's called on terminal leave, which basically means that you'll still be on payroll until all your time has been exhausted. And only then can you apply for your pension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also have a 401k program as well.
Yeah. Well, when I retire, which if the Lord grants me favor, it'll be towards the end of 2027, the beginning of 2028. I will have my pension, my Social Security, and my 401k. So I will have 3 streams of income to live on when I retire.
Nice. And then do you see that like coming to fruition around like the age of 67?
Actually, I plan to retire when I'm 65.
65. Okay. In a few years.
Yeah. Now I know when it comes time to retire, quite a few people are going to be surprised and they're going to be looking at me like, "You're retiring?" Yes, I'm retiring. I'm not going to work until I'm 90 years old and I can't even walk. But yeah.
I think that when you're retired, you and your lady will have even more time together.
Yeah. And actually, I think if my lady decided to not work, I would be okay with that because with my retirement income, that would be enough to sustain the both of us. But if she wants to work, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, never know though. You might end up becoming a father for the first time, bro.
You know what? Anything's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything's possible.
I mean, after all, like Ice-T is your age, so and look at his youngest daughter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Abraham was, I think, 100 years old.
Trump's youngest son.
Yeah. Wasn't Abraham close to 100 years old when Isaac was born?
Yep, and Sarah was 90.
And sterile.
Who was barren at first, but yep.
Yes. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is why does it seem like the female content creators get a lot of hate? I mean, one thing I have noticed on multiple platforms. Uh, the female content creators have to do a lot of stupidity with their ops, and there are multiple reasons. Um, some of it is jealousy. Some of it is, frustration because they can't get them to like them. Some of them, okay, how could I say this in Christian terms?
What?
That they try to know them if you know what. Okay, now in King James English, to know someone meant to have relations. Yeah, women are easy talkers. We're afraid of men and typically easily intimidated. Yeah.
What?
Your
Keep in mind
thoughts?
that well, it boils down to what we were talking about before, though, in regards to how I guess like the people who do that tend to be from both the incel and even the femcel crowd as well, because femcels are also a thing too.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
Yeah, I do.
Like,
And also,
because
so
anybody who is in a stable marriage is not going to invest in all this energy into going after their online quote unquote opso because I wouldn't have time and energy for that though because there's already a lot of time and energy that I have to invest in my marriage. So last thing I would want to do is get caught up in childish
yeah,
antics on the internet. So you have to be like the biggest incel or femcel to go after women on the internet, to be honest.
yes, yes. I'm not going to cite any female content creator per se, but I mean, some of them have to deal with a lot of grief from other female content creators. Part of it, I think, it's jealousy regarding success that they have achieved, and also the way they label themselves. Okay, some of them I get are called pignicias and things of that nature. You know, being accused of over pandering to men and things of that nature. Um, that's something that I never knew that existed until I get onto these YouTube streets. But it's like there's a lot of jealousy involved, and there's some frustrated people out there, but for different reasons. For the males, they're frustrated because they cannot get any woman to approach them romantically. So what they'll do is they'll deflect and call these ladies every conceivable name other than a child of God. Your thoughts?
Well, in addition to denigrating and objectifying them too, though, because that also needs to fit the criteria as well.
Yes.
And just a
But
bunch
we,
of men who are also just dealing with some low self-esteem and a self-respect issue too, to where they're finding their self-worth and identity in the childish antics online, whether that's the effeminate behavior or bullying people online. So
yeah.
there you go.
And and some female content creators are in that vulnerable situation, particularly if they have children. Okay, because as a mother, they try to shield their children from the stupidity that occurs in these YouTube streets. Unfortunately, you have certain individuals that will target the children of these content creators because they don't have much of a moral compass.
Well, yeah. Anybody doing that to me, I'm just like, you're doing that to the wrong man, buddy. And eventually they're going to realize that their time is going to be up though. Cause I'm like, you going to do that to me. That's going to be something that you'll be regretting. And I don't even have to do anything if anybody's thinking that all of a sudden I'm going to do anything. I don't have to do anything. It's just opening up a can of worms. So if anybody's thinking about going after me like that, because it's not going to end well, I am going to say that.
And what some of these individuals they don't realize is that you will sow what you eventually will reap. Okay, and there's
Exactly.
gonna come,
Why I don't
and
have
there's
to.
gonna come, and there's gonna come a time they're gonna do this with the wrong individual, and the consequences may not be very pleasant, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's why I don't have to do anything. I'm just gonna just sit back, chillax, and pop up some popcorn and just watch the chaos unfold. So there's a YouTuber named Peach Mix McIntyre. They just called CPS on her again. They have called multiple times, and it's mostly by women. All right. I also think that the whole CPS calling is also going to backfire too. Just as predatory,
Yeah,
yeah. And I'm
and let me tell you something. You know what's a you know what's the sad thing about it is that whenever people file a false report with children's services, okay, it's the fact that unfortunately they gotta go through the whole 9 yard and they gotta investigate the whole situation because if heaven forbid if there was ever a situation when a child is abused or neglected and if they don't follow up on it, next thing you know it, they're on page one of the news and next thing you know it, they're being crucified. So when these individuals do file false accusations of abuse or neglect, that means resources are wasted following up with false claims. And so, and thus for the record, I'm also classified as a mandated reporter as well.
yeah, and keep in mind it's illegal to falsify reports like that because you just wasted resources that could have been done on actual cases where child abuse and neglect is actually taking place. Have you remember me sharing some of those clips on my community tabs regarding what the consequences are for like falsifying either police or CPS reports? That's a
Mhm.
message. That's a message that I'm sending out to anybody who's planning on doing something that's stupid. So I hope you learned that lesson. Maybe not, but that's a message to you. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And don't be stupid because
I
you want to be
mean,
power hungry and ego driven.
yeah. And you know, and let me tell you something. And again, eventually, sooner or later, you're gonna sow what you reap. Eventually, you're gonna do that to the wrong person, and the outcome is not gonna work well, end up well for you. And it may lead to some serious consequences. It could lead you possibly doing jail time, which means your children may end up entering the foster care system. And because your inability to resolve an issue with someone in a mature way or to simply not have any further interaction with that person, you decide to escalate things and file false accusations of abuse or neglect.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, there's no different than some people trying to get me put in jail. Like, but can we see how that backfired?
Or trying to get me fired from my job.
Can you see how that backfired?
Yeah, I can see it.
So,
The difference is we have a moral compass.
exactly. And the point is that if I were actually married, I wouldn't have time for any of this stuff. So anybody who may be in that category of like the incel or femcel category who likes to prioritize drama on the internet or falsify reports on people, it's usually is like indicative of somebody who doesn't really have like a solid purpose going on for themselves, and an indication that they are lacking a moral compass.
Hmm.
Like I'm actually am out there making a difference to people though, touching hearts and prioritizing people's souls out there that I inspire to, hey, form a relationship with the Father through his Son, right? Do something like that. You will leave a long lasting, indelible legacy if you were to do that. Because since people want to talk about a legacy, well, when was the last time you went out there and you left a indelible mark on somebody because you care that much for them and their souls? If we want to
Yes.
talk about legacy, let's talk about that, okay? If
And
not,
in fact, yeah, and in fact, I think in Second Corinthians, it talks about the believers are basically ambassadors, and
1
that
Corinthians 13:14. Yes.
okay, and that there are actually we are pleading with those who do not know the Lord to be reconciled with God while they are alive, because once they leave this earth and they have not been reconciled with God, there's only one destination that they can go.
Hell,
Correct.
I am not afraid to say it. We got to say it for what it is.
Yes. So there's like one or two more things I want to talk about. And of course, we all know that the deflection continues. Okay. Which, of course, we have individuals who deflect, deflect, deflect. Because the fact of the matter is, hurt people hurt people. And we have seen how on multiple platforms, individuals who their moral compass has been compromised, that there will be the loudest people to opine negatively among people that they know absolutely nothing about.
Yeah. Like saying that I never had an unborn child. That is
Oh,
funny.
that I was a, I was a disappointed to my dead mom.
That part cracks me up, by the way. That's why, like I said, it's always something to laugh at.
Oh, that my family's dead. Wow, I guess those pictures of my family around the Easter time, there were a bunch of ghosts.
Or maybe you painted them all, Jose, and you were just a very artistic painter who was able to paint up a bunch of imaginary family members.
Or I used AI.
Yeah, it's just some funny
And when I
stuff.
had a picture, and when I had a picture of my lady on my community tab, I guess she was AI as well.
Wow. I didn't know you had an AI girlfriend. Interesting.
But you know what? I'm sure that's going to be the next thing that the ops are going to say.
Yeah, and I already know that by the time I actually really start to upload more of my material about what I'm doing out there on the streets, I already know what people are going to say. I already know what's going to happen, though. It's just, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like what? Yeah, yes, I give people rights. Of course I do. Of course
But
I
you know
let.
what?
Of
Yeah,
course I
no,
gave a homeless woman yesterday a ride? Yes, because she asked.
Okay, no,
Of course I did.
you know what it is?
Kidnapping people?
No, Georgia, the next thing is going to be that you use your horse in order to gain sexual favors of the street workers.
That'd be interesting to hear.
I know, and I'm sure people's like, you mean there are people that actually that whatever they'll say such a things? Yes.
Right. I'll say this. I would love to drive somebody to the ranch and introduce them to Cooper, the sweetheart, one here in the picture with me. But all that weird stuff that ops are going to make up, though, let them have it.
Yeah. Speaking about ops, would you believe someone actually filed a false privacy complaint up against me?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's just why, and I know he tried coming up here already, though.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
it's okay. I mean,
Um,
and apparently, this one of them tried to approach Don Armando about whatever ish she has with me. It's like,
on TikTok, yeah.
well, I mean, I don't like banning people, but I have no problem banning people if you're going to act a certain way.
Same here.
So. Now, I know that Zacharias has his channel back, but has he actually produced any content, do you know of?
I don't really know. I honestly don't really follow his page like that. But maybe I can glance over, though. But I do hope he's doing well, though, because I did mention him in our Discord earlier, though, in regard to whether he's aware that Houston is now really starting to crack down on homeless encampments.
Yes.
But yeah, I do hope that Zach is doing very well, though, because yeah, despite his personal challenges, I don't wish him harm one bit. I do hope he's doing.
I know. I hope he's doing well. I don't have any. I mean, I don't wish him any ill will. It's just that unfortunately, he burned too many bridges the brief times he came over here.
Right. I know. I remember.
Mhm.
And I can't wait for the day where I'll be the mediator and you two are going to settle it in a godly fashion.
Yes.
And no, nothing bad will happen to where you're going to remove yourself from my panel.
Yeah. Well,
But I hope he's doing okay.
yes.
I don't know. I get a little concerned about him, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Yes. Well, lately, no, for the last few months, I've been referring to the ops as the collected as the circus because they act like a bunch of clowns. Now I refer to them as the inmates trying to run the asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because all I can say is if you were to see these individuals in action, you will lead to the conclusion that these are inmates are trying to run the asylum. But going forward, I'm going to request, I'm not going to talk about them, and I'm going to request that anyone that appears on the panel refrain from talking about them as well. Okay, because what they want is attention.
Mm-hmm.
And by talking about it, basically you're granting their wish to get attention and you're enabling their behavior. We're not going to do that here.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. But I knew that once I did my stream regarding the incels, I knew about the pushback I was going to get, and I was prepared more or less. So, any idea when you're going to be doing another live?
I tend to do it very sporadically. Um, I don't know. Whenever it's placed on my heart to do so, I would be down for it. Yeah. But yeah, the last one I did was my greater ops who are not on the internet. They are in real time. I remember that because quote unquote ops on the internet are irrelevant. But that was the last one I made. But
Yes.
I don't know. I do it very sporadically. And whenever the time comes, bro, I will be on it.
Okay. Well, as I stated before, I'll be going back to like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule for next week, but I'm going to be on later. Okay. Let me just take a
But if
look.
you'd like for me to live stream what I do out there on the streets, I could do that.
You know what? That's totally up to you. Okay. Um, now Monday and Wednesday nights next week, I'll be live. So I believe it's 7:30 your time.
I'm 3 hours behind you.
Yeah. And then on Friday, I'll be on 8 o'clock your time.
Sounds good.
You know who being called a Karen on YouTube last week? I don't know. Who was it? Would you care to enlighten us, Irby? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's still watching. But is there anything else that you'd like to discuss?
Not that I know of, though, because I think that we got out everything that needed to be gotten out as far as everything from like ops, how the streets are treating me, your situation with you having to go through a serious hassle to get 2 weeks off, the political and social climate. Yeah, we covered a lot of good stuff.
Okay.
But I'm just so passionate about street life, you know?
Yes. Well, Monday stream will be how they give a proper testimony.
Be very honest about what happened, what you did, how that transformed you, how that made you gain wisdom, and how the Lord is now using that to advance the kingdom. That's how you do it. But
Well,
there's
yeah,
more to it.
yeah. So basically, I believe in ABC: authentic, brief, and Christ-centered.
Same.
Yeah, because you don't need to give a 8 hour discourse regarding what Christ did in your life. I mean, just basically share what was the situation, share how you turn it over to God and how God had brought a positive resolution that
Mhm.
glorified Him.
Agreed.
because
Oh,
the whole purpose
Irby
of test.
says street life.
Yes,
Yes, Irby.
you
My
better
street life ministry.
I mean, you better be careful, Georgia, because one of the latest things is going to be like you doing unnatural things with your horse.
So somebody's gonna start accusing me of partaking in bestiality.
Yeah,
Sick. I won't be surprised if
and you know,
allegation comes up.
yeah, because unfortunately, folks, that's the kind of stupidity we have to deal with at times. And of course, it's usually from people that don't know anything about us that make that sound make the loudest critiques.
Mhm.
But
George,
at
are
this
you talking
point,
at risk? Hold on, he's asking me. You talk
oh,
to at-risk youth? If I happen to stumble upon one, and if I'm directed to one, yeah, I would for sure do that. But currently, no. Currently, I'm dealing with other grown men and women.
yes. And let's let's clarify this. We are not condoning prostitution in any way, shape, or form.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. What we are talking about is we're talking about individuals that are hurt people. Many of them have never experienced what true love is. Okay. And basically, they have like this gross misconception of what love is. So, what you're doing is you are ministering to these people God's love to people who have not never experienced what it is.
Yep, that's a part of it.
Mhm.
And now I've also included just people, even people who are not even caught up in that. But yeah, for some of the girls who are caught up in that, they are also a part of the picture.
Yes. And it's unfortunate that people would take something as noble like what you're doing and twist it to make it sound like it's a complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
But what can we do? Let's keep these people in prayer, and hopefully, with God's grace and mercy, that they allow this up to be touched by God, that they can be transformed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even in my short video that I did yesterday, where you saw me like by the dumpster in the alleyway, did you see that one?
Yes.
You saw how I read out of my book,
Yes.
notebook, my cross-covered black notebook. That book is going to continue to fill up with names.
Okay.
Oh, as a matter of fact, here it is. Here it is.
Yes.
Always comes with me whenever I go out there. It's going to continue to fill up with names.
And no, it's not a black book with telephone numbers that you gotten in front of these ladies of the night.
Mm-mm.
It's actually a prayer journal,
Exactly.
unless I'm mistaken.
I will say this, a couple of them have my number, but that is only to direct them to one of our facilities so that they can get assisted further.
Yes.
I can even
Well,
tell you a facility too.
mhm,
We have a
yes.
Lovewell facility where extra help is there whenever they want it. I said it's no pressure. You have free will, girl, but
Yes.
it's there if you need it.
Well, I'm happy to say that I'm currently mentoring two individuals who became union reps for the first time. So I'm trying to share my knowledge and my experience with them, with
Nice.
with the goal that they would become effective union reps.
Herbie, I don't think Janet likes her mods over there.
Okay.
She's more than welcome to fire the mods she doesn't like. But yeah,
Okay.
nice
Well,
job, Lacey. Congratulations, because I think that with your wisdom and your experience, I think that you can do well in mentorship.
yeah, which, and look, the reality is, I'm going to retire in 2 years. So, um, I want to be before I retire, be able to mentor some people, and then pass the baton to them. And my goal is not only that they become as good as a union rep as I am, that they do a better job that I can do.
Mm-hmm. Pass the torch on to somebody else.
Yes. As you know, each one teach one and reach one. So I think at this point I'm going to wrap this up because we basically said what needed to be said,
Mm-hmm.
and
Good hour and a half.
yes, and which generally I try to keep it no more than 2 hours, because keep it real, people have lives. Okay, not everyone can spend 2 hours on the playback. Um, when they have their own responsibilities and things of that nature. So now I don't know who this Janet is. I guess she's probably another content creator. Um, maybe one day Gigi will let me know a little bit about her. But in any case, I really appreciate you stopping by, and of course I appreciate other people in the chat. So your final remarks.
Stick with your divine purpose, keep pursuing it, and don't let anybody try to rob you of it. Because in this world, you'll be getting a lot of people who will relentlessly.
Yeah.
So stay strong and stay firm and keep persevering. Okay.
Yes.
Amen.
Yeah, and I too will say for my final remarks, um, be true to yourself. Do not let anyone try to um, dim your light, and to strive to be the best version of yourself in everything that you do. And of course, I appreciate all those who, who comment in the chat. I appreciate you. Those who are watching from the clouds, even the haters. And of course, we got to close the same way that we always close. We must do everything possible to avoid the presence of the mentally and intellectually challenged. Because if we fail to do that, we will be infected by their stupidity and massive insanity.
True.
This has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron. So I just want to say, have a good weekend. Stay true to yourself. Do not let the ops rob you of your joy. Take care and peace.
Peace out.
Peace.